Good afternoon. I know we're just at 1:30. We're still waiting on a couple of colleagues to join us for quorum, so give us a couple more minutes and we'll get this thing started. All right, good afternoon and welcome. Councilmember Jason Dozier, Vice Chair at the Community Development Human Service Committee. I called this Tuesday, September 24th meeting of the Community Development Human Service Committee to order. I am joined by my colleagues, Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari, Councilmember Matt Westmoreland, and Councilmember Michael Julian Bond. That constitutes a quorum. We're also joined by Councilmember Antonio Lewis. That constitutes a quorum. First item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda. Is there a second? There's a second by Councilmember Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Aye.
We have also been joined by Councilmember Mary Norwood.
Mr. Evans?
All right, the agenda has been adopted. 4 yeas, 0 nays. Next item is approval of minutes. I'll motion to approve the minutes. Second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Minutes have been approved. That takes us to public comment. 1 second as we get the list. And I'm going to apologize in advance because it's a handwritten list. I may not pronounce your name correctly, so please, if you could, if I mispronounce your name, please correct it into the microphone when you come up to speak. And just for everyone's awareness, for this committee, members of the public have 3 minutes to speak. I will gently remind you when you get up to 30 seconds remaining, so they don't hopefully disrupt what you have to say, but want you to be aware of the amount of time that you have. So our first speaker is Ms. Henry Jordan. Ms. Jordan, good to see you as always, and you have 3 minutes as always.
Even unto the Spirit of God, everyone that's here. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. 2 Corinthians, 1st chapter, 19th verse. God will destroy human wisdom, and make the wisdom of this world foolish. James Griff will make your so-called human wisdom foolish. James Griff, Jesus will make your so-called human wisdom foolish. Christ's word created income. It will be foolish to take credit. And likewise, also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burning their lust one toward another. Men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meet. Romans 1st chapter 27 verse. He delivered them over to the natural result of their unbelief in action. Men with men or women with women cannot create a beautiful baby. Blessed and holy is he that has part in the first resurrection. On such, the second death has no power. They shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Revelation 20th chapter 6 verse. It has 3 principal phases: the resurrection of Christ, the resurrection of the church, the dead in Christ, and the resurrection of Old Testament and tribulation saints. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6 chapter 12 verse. Wrestle, use the hand-to-hand combat, emphasizes the personal and individual nature of spiritual warfare waged against each local church and Christian. The Lord make his face shine upon thee, and be gracious unto thee. Numbers 6 chapter 25th verse. Marriage symbolized the relationship between God and Israel. The Israelites symbolize the holy calling of the nation. Because God exists, we were created by him. God created us for his purpose, for his pleasure, to do his will, not our own will. That's when man's will is destructive, because it works against what God wants to do in us, to love one another. And I thank God for his word. I thank God for sending his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for our sins, not his sins. And I thank you for this time, because I think about what God is going to do, because he hates sin. And we got to be ready, and that's when I stand here, because I want to be ready to stand before God without fault. I know I got sin in my life, but I need to conquer that sin. Because sin, God hates sin. And we want to hate sin like Christ hates sin. And thank you. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Our next speaker is just listed as Queen. All right. And as stated before, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm First Lady Bishop Queen. I'm in the community. I'm in every district. I represent the black community all over the state where I'm at in Atlanta. One of the things I've been seeing that I'm very disgruntled about it is I see workers that's building, and I see a lot of Hispanic, but I'm not seeing black. I have a problem with that because I deal with some of the people in the prison system. I deal with people that are unemployed, and they're going back and forth to prison because they're unable to find jobs. And I'm wondering, how can we hire people from another country to come to the United States that do not even speak English? And when they came here, they snuck here illegally hiding, and then they got an apartment, 1 bedroom, 20 of them stayed in an apartment. I know that because one of the apartments that I know where they stayed at. So, but I'm fighting for blacks in our community. I represent a race called black only. I respect all human beings, but when I'm in the community, I represent my race. You see this? That's why I want to make sure whenever you see something dark from now on your TV, on posters, on magazine, you're going to see a lot of dark black, because this is why I wear my thing just like this here. You want to understand that black means black, and I'm still part of James Brown. I'm going to say it loud, and I am black, and I'm proud. So, but I have a problem that I don't have enough black people working, and they're in the community. It is a cry, and it's not a game. I'm hurt. They're out there not working, but I see, look on the freeway. We took people that was black out of the prison, and we had guns behind them. If they tried to run, all they were supposed to do is clean up the streets, building buildings, doing lawn work. But we came years later with Hispanic and paid them. I want to turn around. And those that are black, that represent black district, Dozier, Miss Antonio Bonds, young lady, and so many more. That's black, and you represent black district. Let me make it plain, okay? I don't like to sugarcoat, and I'm not afraid to speak, okay, amongst everyone that is respected. But I specifically work in black communities. So I need your help to help me in your district where I know black people are not working. I mean, the prison system in different places, their majority are black, like you, like us, that help put you there. I want to meet your demand
30 seconds.
for us in the community. If you're up to re-election, I'm here to help. I'll call and leave my name, my number, email. I'll leave a message of what I do. I'll make sure I get the message to you. I do appreciate you. I know I want to attack you the right way, that we come out fighting together. We're going to combat this together. How about that? And we don't want to offend them that's not black. Don't have no offense, but let me make sure I can talk to them.
Thank you. Time has expired.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Prophet Curtis Martin Harrison. Oh, there you are.
Amen. Praise God. I agree with both of these two queens that have said today. On one, especially about the workers, as I've been said before. Why do we have so many immigrants in our city? When our ancestors, we built this country on the backs of black men and women and children. Now we got those same people that can't find a job. See, we just said that. I don't know this. I know her, but I know her now. I don't know. I've never met this lady before in my life. It's going to catch fire one day. Now, again, though, this Donnelly Howard office, I want to know the state representatives over this Donnelly Howard office, because I'm getting ready to go to her office, him or her office. That office up there is terrible. They playing around with people's food stamps. They playing around with people's mail. But if I go up there and cause a corruption, then I'm the problem. I've been up there 4 times. One person, the worker there started an argument with me. Something's not right. I'm going to advise the people not to vote. The person that's over that office, me, this person you talk to, I'm going to advise them not to vote for her again, him or her. Now, the power of persuasion is very, very, very powerful. They asked me last election, should I vote for him? Should I vote for her? Should I vote for him? When Felicia was running and Mayor Dickens was running, they asked me and us, our group, who to vote for. And y'all need to hear this. The people I said vote for got elected. The people she said, the people he said, the people she said. Maybe we need a new governor too, because I'm hearing some things I'm hearing some real bad stuff about the governor. Now, they asked us, our groups, who should I vote for? Y'all don't know this. But the people we said to vote for got elected. So y'all need to keep that in mind. Write that down. Now, I know history. I know fathers. My great-grandfather was in Vietnam. My daddy was in the Marines. Came back home, mind gone. So I know what I'm talking about. I know what's going on. Now, again, though, we got homeless people dying in our streets. It's good to get wintertime out here. I'm walking past girls that can't spell their name because their minds are gone. On your streets, on our streets, and I say Fulton County, DeKalb County, because I'm at DeKalb County. All right, thanks. I'm at the DeKalb County meetings too. So if you're gonna hate me for the right reasons. You know, I'm out here fighting for our people, all people. Because I know some white girls living underneath bridges, and y'all call that whatever y'all call that. I don't know how y'all, whatever point y'all making. I don't know. I don't know that point. A 70-year-old woman just defecated on herself as she white. So what point is that? I mean, I should feel better now? Because she's a white lady, I should feel better because she's homeless. Come on, man.
Time has expired. Thank you so much. That concludes public comment. However, Councilman Westmoreland.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I very rarely do this, but at a time when there's a lot of hateful rhetoric around immigrants, particularly coming from a nominee of a major political party, I just wanted to explicitly say that that type of language doesn't have any place in this room or in this building.
Thank you. All right. That concludes public comment. However, before we go into presentations, I know we have one individual here for a communication. Mr. Evans, if you can sound that caption, and Ms. Walton, if you can come to the podium, and then we'll start into the legislative business.
Item number 1 is 24C5118, a communication from Tanya Greer, County Clerk, to the Fulton County Board of Commissioners, submitting the appointment of Ms. Bridget Walton to the Beltline Tax Allocation District Advisory Committee. This appointment is for a term of 2 years.
All right, Ms. Walton, if you don't mind, tell us a little about yourself and why you're interested in this appointment.
Well, first, good afternoon, and thank you all for having me. My name is Bridget Walton. I come with roughly about 25 years of human resources experience at the federal level and also within private sector. I've been retired now for a couple of years, and I've moved back home to Georgia. I currently reside in Midtown Atlanta. Now, I enjoy visiting the Beltline on a regular basis. I love it there. I love my experience there. I think the Beltline has made a huge impact on community engagement, and I want to get more involved with that. So that prompted me to reach out to the Beltline leadership and also some current committee members of TADAC to get their experience and their opinions regarding the role, purpose, and responsibilities of the committee. Also had the pleasure of speaking with Commissioner Dana Barrett to learn more about her vision. And I've learned that our visions, our passions are very much aligned, and that is to move the Beltline forward. I feel I'll be an asset to the committee. I have a lot to offer. I certainly want to get more involved and engaged in my community, and I want to give back. And I think this is an excellent opportunity to do just that, sitting on this committee. So that is why I'm here today, to ask for your approval for my appointment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the body? There's a motion to approve by Bakhtiari. I'll accept a second from Councilmember Bond. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Motion to approve is accepted. It's 4 yeas, 0 nays. Ms. Walton, congratulations. And as a former TADAC board member myself, I know it's a very fulfilling experience. I know you're going to be fulfilled with it as well. So, yeah. All right. Thank you for coming out. All right, that takes us into presentations, colleagues. However, I know our third presentation today is to the Department of Parks and Recreation. They're going to touch on some things in their presentation that my colleague, Councilmember Lewis, wanted to speak to, but I know he's on a time crunch, so I want to give him an opportunity to say a few things, and then we'll go into our normal presentation schedule.
And thank you, Chair Dozier. I just wanted to thank the Department of Parks and Recreation, thank the Atlanta Braves, thank Morehouse College, and thank anyone else who are involved in bringing what we know will transform not only the South Side, but the entire city of Atlanta. The South Side Sports Complex upgrades, which is on almost the last page, that will be coming in 2025 during an All-Star Weekend in Atlanta, is a project that will not only upgrade a public entity, it will bring in more private eyes to the South Side. It will give us an opportunity to to compete for tournaments. It will give us an opportunity to bring in grocery store owners to look at the community. And lastly, I want to say that LeBron James has played 20 years in the NBA, and his career earnings were $479 million. Kevin Durant, $396 million. But if you look at baseball, A-Rod, $480 million, right? LeBron James is one top 2 basketball player of all times, played the longest career of all, second longest career of all time. And A-Rod made more than him in his career. Kobe Bryant made $328 million in 20 years. You look at Chipper Jones, he made almost $200 million. You look at Ohtani, $700 million. Trout, $426 million in 12 years. And so I'm thinking about Ant-Man, and that's Anthony Edwards, a hometown hero, right? If you ever saw him, we knew him as a kid. He played all 3 sports. The sport he thought he loved most was football, but the sport we knew he could make the most money in was baseball. But if you look at the city of Atlanta, once you turn 12, you age out of baseball because we don't have any fields in our area that meet that. And so this project will bring us fields that are over the 12U range that will enhance what we do as a city. So I truly appreciate the hard work of Simone Walls and Danielle Brazil for the Atlanta Braves and Commissioner Cutler for bringing this pipe dream. This has been a pipe dream in our community for about 20 years, for bringing this pipe dream alive. And I look forward to throwing a pitch out whenever we win one of these tournaments. Thank you again for allowing me to speak on this. And one last thing, the Little League World Series expanded this year, 2 years ago. They expanded from 12 teams to 20 teams. They did one more thing. They expanded the cities, the regions that they play in. The city of Atlanta has never even been allowed to compete and bid to be one of those regions. It's 9 minutes from the airport, 15 minutes from downtown. I'm going to help us win one of those Little League World Series regions so we can get some of our teams in that game. So I'm ready for this, and thank you again to this committee for allowing me to speak. Thank you again for pushing this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Lewis. All right, that takes us to our first presentation, In Town Cares. Dr. Ishita Chordia. If I mispronounce your name, I apologize. But,
You're all good. That was great.
okay, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me today. I'm going to be talking about the East Atlanta Village Homeless Outreach Program. This program was a collaboration between the East Atlanta Community Association, the East Atlanta Business Association, City Council, and In Town Cares. And y'all are familiar with In Town Cares. My name is Dr. Ishita Chordia. I live in East Atlanta Village. I am a homeowner there. I'm also the person from the neighborhood who's been working with In Town Cares over the past year to track and manage the program. Finally, I'm a researcher. So for my dissertation work, I collected data about this program. So some of what I'm going to be sharing today is data collected from my dissertation. Okay, so just a little bit of background on East Atlanta Village, which you all might already know, but East Atlanta Village is historically a Black neighborhood, right? But in the past few years, you've seen huge amounts of gentrification. That gentrification, along with an increased population growth and an increase in home prices, has contributed to homelessness in the area. Last year, concerns from both residents and business owners led us to pilot this new neighborhood outreach program to address homelessness in the area. Okay, so how does this work? So we started a one-year pilot last year in September of 2023, and this pilot program cost $100,000. And so $20,000 was raised directly from the neighborhood and local businesses, another $20,000 from Matt Westmoreland and Liliana Bakhtiari's office, and then the remaining $60K from the administration. And so what we did with that $100K is we were able to hire a full-time case manager for the neighborhood. So Michael Nolan is a caseworker from In Town Cares, which is a nonprofit outreach organization. And what he does is he uses a trauma-informed housing-first approach to address homelessness. And so what his role looks like is really it has two parts. The first part of his role is to support the unhoused population in getting all of their documentation, Social Security, TB tests, everything they need to go from the streets into a permanent supportive housing placement. The second thing that Michael, our full-time caseworker, is able to do is support the neighborhood. So whenever there's any types of incidents involving the unhoused population, he's able to support the broader neighborhood beyond just the unhoused population. So what I've kind of seen over the past year is that this program is able to fill a gap in local infrastructure. And so you can call 911 when there's fire, medical emergency, when there's physical threat with a weapon. You can call PAD when there's an emergency related to substance abuse, poverty, or mental health. But this program, what it can do is address more chronic, long-term issues. So not those types of emergencies, but the chronic issues that lead people to be in homelessness, and then the amount of time it takes to get them from the streets into housing. Okay, so what kind of data did we collect about this program? So it's been going on for 10 months. We have 10 months of data. In-Town Cares has been collecting data about individual clients that our case manager has been working with. I've also conducted interviews with 17 community members, so that includes residents, business owners, unhoused folks, anyone who lives in the neighborhood and has interacted with this program. I also collected 3 months of data from the neighborhood Facebook group to kind of understand what people's sentiments are generally. And so when you take all this data, what I'm seeing is that there's an impact to 3 different populations. So there's an impact of this program to the unhoused population, an impact to local residents, and an impact to business owners. And so I'm going to be talking about each of these 3 briefly. Okay, so the impact to the unhoused community is it's very clear and pretty phenomenal. So in 10 months, we've seen that 10 people have been housed. So these are people who have experienced chronic homelessness and were on the streets 10 months ago, and they've gotten moved into a permanent supportive housing unit. 35 people now have access to Medicaid. These people were eligible but hadn't signed up. In-Town Cares has a partnership with Mercy Care, right? So now in our neighborhood, we have weekly mobile clinic visits from Mercy Care. So that's resulted in over 150 appointments to provide medical, mental health, and addiction services to people. Our full-time case manager has also been able to hand out over 1,000 hygiene kits and snack packs, and we've seen multiple overdose reversals in the neighborhood. Okay, what is the impact on local residents? So when you think about homelessness, the reason it can be such a challenge for communities is that it can create conflicts between unhoused populations and the broader community, right? And so we saw some examples in our data. One example we saw is that an unhoused person moved into Brownwood Park. Now, Brownwood Park is the most popular park in East Atlanta Village. I use it on a daily basis. It's also the home of the East Atlanta Kids Club, which is a local nonprofit that supports at-risk youth, right? So this is a super well-trafficked park, and we had an unhoused gentleman move in there. People were very concerned because they saw that this individual was exhibiting some signs of mental health challenges, right? And they reached out to our full-time case manager. Now, so this was a situation where Michael, our case manager, was able to go into Brownwood Park, have a conversation. He has training in trauma-informed care, able to have a conversation with this individual, relocate the tent to a place that's more private, and get that person set up so that he's now working with him as a client to get on the permanent supportive housing queue. So that is a situation where there's this incident and you're able to find a long-term way to address that. Okay. This is taken straight from our neighborhood Facebook group. Someone anonymous member posted, "In search of advice on how to handle a person sleeping in car outside of our house in the neighborhood. I completely understand that people fall on hard times, but it is unsettling to have someone sitting inside their car 24/7 outside your home for going on 3 weeks now. Would prefer not to involve the police, but it is getting to that point. Any suggestions on what to do?" Clearly, there were a lot of suggestions. There's 65 comments on here, so this was something that people were paying attention to. The top comment here is by our full-time case manager, Michael Nolan, who responds saying that he'll look into this situation. He thanks this individual for posting, and he says that because he has training in dealing with people who have mental health and trauma challenges, he feels comfortable talking to this individual and handling the situation. And so that's how this situation was resolved. So I just shared these two stories about things that have happened in the neighborhood. If you take a step back and you look across the past 10 months, there have been over 500 calls and texts from community members to address situations involving the unhoused population. So 500 calls and texts that have come to our full-time case manager. As you saw in the last example, those are calls that are not coming to the police, and so there's a reduced burden on local law enforcement because of this program. Additionally, our full-time case manager is able to collaborate with the law enforcement. Because he's on the ground every day, he's able to keep his eyes and ears open, collect information, and that information he's shared with Councilmember Bakhtiari and local law enforcement to address local crime concerns. So I talked about the impact to the unhoused population and the impact to kind of the broader community of residents. We've also seen an impact to business owners. So In Town Cares has done 2 trainings specifically for the East Atlanta Business Association, and that is the association that represents all the businesses in the area. And so what they did was they had a panel discussion where In Town Cares came in collaboration with local law enforcement, nonprofits, and PAD to share with business owners like the set of resources that are available to them. Business owners are often kind of hit pretty hard by homelessness because they are the ones providing bathrooms, frontline kind of resources to this population. So there was this incident at Plants and Coffee, which is a local coffee shop in East Atlanta Village, where one of the unhoused members who normally uses the bathroom in the area did not actually make it to the bathroom at Plants and Coffee. So the employees there called both our full-time case manager as well as the police. Michael, the full-time case manager, was able to de-escalate the situation because Robbie, the individual, was in the middle of a mental health crisis. He was able to de-escalate it because he had a long-term relationship with this individual and knew kind of how he worked. He was also able to then talk to the Plants and Coffee employees, who he also knew because he lives in the area, and was able to kind of give them instructions about what to do moving forward. So I thought this was kind of an example of how we could support our businesses as well. So I think the last couple things I want to talk about is just the next steps. So this program has been going on for 10 months, and I'd said earlier that we've seen 10 people get housed, so that's from the streets, into permanent supportive housing units. What I didn't share is that there are 35 other people that Michael has worked with. So he's gotten their TB tests, their social security, their identification, and he's gotten them on the housing queue. And the only thing that is the bottleneck there is that there's not enough permanent supportive housing units. And so we're waiting for the housing units to open up for those 35 people to actually get housed. They're just waiting on the streets. And one of them is a longtime member who the neighborhood all knows of, and everyone's kind of waiting for her to get her unit. I know that Atlanta Motel and 111 Moreland are in the process of being built. These two would provide 108 units for East Atlanta Village and surrounding neighborhoods. I think it is imperative that these buildings open up as soon as possible. And when they do, they'll be able to house all of the East Atlanta unhoused population in the neighborhood that they call home. So I think that's a huge accomplishment and something that we need to prioritize. The second, I think, step to think about here is starting more of these programs in other neighborhoods. I think we've seen that it's been quite successful in East Atlanta Village. It's also helped people kind of just live together more peacefully. These kinds of tensions that happen across race and class, really, in a neighborhood, I think it makes it easier for people to live together when you have the right resources, and that includes the case manager. The last thing I just want to end with is that I think we're seeing that we can move the needle here with more supportive housing units and with a case manager who's on the ground every day, building trust, getting that identification, helping move people into housing. We're seeing pretty big improvements even within even under a year. What it takes is a lot of collaboration and a diversity of tactics. And so we're seeing that the In-Town Cares case manager is collaborating with Mercy Care, with PAD, with law enforcement, and with businesses to kind of make this happen. I think that collaboration is essential, and I think you all as City Council play a really important role in that collaboration in continuing to support and prioritize these kinds of programs. So we need that support as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tordilla. I know Councilmember Bakhtiari wanted to add some additional comments, as I know this program's been your baby, but before we do, I want to acknowledge we've been joined by Councilmember Andrea Boone and Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet. Councilmember Bakhtiari, did you want to add anything to the presentation? Okay.
I think we wanted to do Q&A with y'all if y'all wanted to.
Okay, Councilmember Westmoreland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your first slide, this might actually be a question for Councilmember Bakhtiari. Your first slide referenced a one-year pilot, and it is now September. So what are we doing next?
The 1-year anniversary is October, so we've done all this in the course of a year, which is $100,000 that has housed 10 people already, more than 30 people in the housing queue. That doesn't even count all the clients that Michael actually has that he's prepping to put people into the queue. So we will have housed more than 40 people by the end of the year when the permanent supportive housing opens up. And so with additional units for more people in the surrounding area, so that we'll have space for additional folks. But the next phase of this looks like is, one, we want to continue this work next year. So we want to renew the pilot. Again, $100,000 for about 40, 45 people, averages to around $2,000 a person. That is a pretty incredible return, not to mention the community engagement we've done, the educational pieces we've done, the trainings with businesses, 911 town halls to reinstate trust between community and police. As you can imagine, in East Atlanta, it had been really, that was a huge obstacle. So now I hope that for this next year we renew. We would actually like to see 2 case managers in the area because we want to broaden the footprint. And we want to be able to continue running the food and pantry program we have out of there and continue to work with APD. As a result of this program, we only have 1 drug house left in the area that we know about, and additional dealers that have targeted and been able to work with folks that are unsheltered that feel targeted as well, and be able to work with them and keep them housed. So the next phase of this looks like additional funding and expanding on the program because it has been highly successful.
Good deal. Thank you to everyone here for all you're doing.
Oh, and I just want to mention that Ashita here, Dr. Ashita, also did her dissertation on this over the last year and presented it for her PhD. So we've also been able to track all this data to distribute to council and to the administration so that y'all can see just what went into this day after day. She's really done some extraordinary work. And this is Princess Futrell, who actually ran the program for In-Town and oversaw it.
We have Councilmember, we'll go with Councilmember Bond and then Councilmember Overstreet after.
That's better. Thank you. Well, first, I just want to say congratulations to you and thank you for the great work that you have done. It is extremely impressive. And I guess my first question would be is that even though I guess at the very surface this sounds similar to what PAD is, I guess, intended to do, I mean, to me it does. I mean, you're interacting with people and you're trying to get them diverted. Have you all had any real interaction with them?
Yes, with PAD?
Yes.
Yes, we intersect. We do different work than what PAD does.
We do ongoing
Yes,
casework.
we
right?
do, yeah. And we kind of see the process through. And so if someone, if we go up to someone and they say, hey, I'm not ready right now, we may go back out 45 days later. We may go back out the next day. We're all about that outreach and engagement piece until that person is ready to enroll on our caseload. And we also will kind of follow them through that process in order to get them housed. And that could look like 6 months, that could look like a year or 2 years. And we kind of stick with our folks until we can see that process through with them. And so that's one of the big differences for PAD. For us, we don't really take a policing approach with it, right? And ours is really just focused on outreach and engagement and building that rapport and trust.
So you have an ongoing relationship with your client base.
Yes, we do.
You have more time to establish trust and also to work out these issues. And so I mentioned PAD because it seems like PAD would benefit from having this dimension as a part of the services that they are expected to provide, because even though they have had documented successes, what the missing component obviously is the relationship with the individuals, building trust on both sides so that they begin to trust you and have confidence in the work that you're going to do what you say you're going to do for them and building that relationship. I think as we talk about, I know PAD is being funded through the end of the year, and we had a discussion in public safety, I guess not yesterday, but the week before, about getting with Fulton County and discussing, kind of what the future of PAD ought to be. But I'd advocate for some level of this type of service going along with PAD, so that when individuals are identified, that it's more than just a person coming out to the scene and say, hey, do you need A, B, and C? That they have a rapport building kind of function so that they can follow up with people. So their service isn't anecdotal, right, to the incident, but you're building a relationship with them. So I think that would be my suggestion. But I think what you're doing is absolutely fantastic, and I hope to see it continue and grow. It is really, really impressive.
Thank you, Councilmember Bond. Councilmember Overstreet.
Thank you. I am also very impressed with what I heard, and I missed the first slide. It's your outtakes for me. I've been listening for a couple years for this type of engagement and details of what we are actually spending our dollars on here at the city. And this is what I've been listening for, because this sounds to me like what is really needed in order to not eradicate unhoused, but to put a dent in it, to make sure that we are taking care of those that need our help without like a true displacement, and I'm just very pleased with what I'm hearing. I certainly would support if we're talking about funding. I'm not on this particular. But first, wait a minute. What are your office hours?
It depends on which case manager you talk to, but pretty much our case managers are on call. We have some case managers that are up in the early hours. And
what's the early hours?
Because Councilmember, so I know the council members in her particular area, they're really, in Councilmember Boone's area, they're really struggling with overnight and weekends. So I think
it's really not even overnight. It's anytime past 7 p.m.
Got it.
And anytime on Saturdays and Sundays. We have nothing available.
So I think one of the things of the vision of this program that Princess and I were able to do, of course, with the help of their executive director, Brad Schweers, and of course, Ishita and the neighborhood, was we were able to take a look at what was going on in East Atlanta and basically custom fit a plan to that with the best case manager that they had for it. And so I think that what makes this program unique and what we've been trying to build, because it is through this program that I believe that Atlanta could become the leading city in the country in making homelessness short and non-reoccurring. And if we scale up this model in like 7 years, in my opinion. But what they are able to do is come to you look at the neighborhood. We're not talking your entire district. We're talking about the areas where it's hardest
That's
hit,
right.
having a tailored approach, and finding out when you're having the biggest issues, because that's what they did that was so groundbreaking, is that they worked with my office. I was really involved. We did a whole community rollout. The community actually fundraised to chip in to show the administration that we wanted to carry the water.
So my
and that-
community's not going to chip in.
well, we did that to show it's
Okay.
different, right? Because we also have to look at the financial aspects and the cultural differences depending on where we are. The east side, that's where PAD was piloted. We have greater knowledge. The west side is very different. We're going to have to take a different.
We piloted PAD as well when we first started there.
But I think that the difference with this agency is also it's meeting people where they are. What was really groundbreaking about our approach is that, of course, the community was really tired of holding the burden of dealing with people who are unsheltered and doing drugs. Businesses were tired of being the ones that had to do that while also trying to stay open.
Okay.
And so what we did was we stepped in to fill the gap, and I was like, no, the city, I'm going to take responsibility for some of this. This is where we can improve. Sherry Boston involved the DA, talked to her about frequent flyers we had. We talked about people that were just getting dumped again and again, that had been abandoned by their families. So we really talked about it and went in depth and really did a lot of education with the community. And the business association stepped up, and we all did. And it was just, what I saw was now the melody that we have downtown, the neighborhood has been so excited over the last year, and just 1 year, about this approach that they're actively trying to find land in their own community for additional housing.
And that's the part.
And that's a
really,
game changer.
Like the outtakes, that's the part to me where this means that y'all are onto something. Because I remember when we first started having these unhoused conversations, like in 2019, feels like anyway, it might have even been 2018. And I was told by my community members that somebody's just passing out keys to the homeless, and they're sleeping outside of these doors of the homes that they were given, the spaces. And that meant something to me. It meant that's not an answer. Do you know, like, who's passing out keys? So that was my question to the powers that be. Who's passing out keys? Like, is this our help? Just let's find an apartment here and an apartment there and pass keys out. That's not the answer. And this sounds like a good answer. And so I honestly am not an expert in this field. For sure, I'm not. But I do know when things sound like they're working and when they're not working. And I want to definitely be on the right side of trying to help in the community where this space is, because it's not changing. I also want to make sure that the city of Atlanta is not overbearing, like bearing this burden that is not ours to bear. But I do want to do my share, if that makes sense. So I also, like, you're a doctor for what institution? What did you do your dissertation?
University of Washington, but I'm from Atlanta, and I moved back here during COVID, so I finished up at Georgia Tech.
At Georgia Tech, fantastic. So I had a conversation with Georgia State, because they do commission work for figuring out who's responsible for what. And I asked, is there a way I could find out who's responsible for this huge budget item of helping the unhoused? Is it the city, which is not in our charter? I don't think it is, to be honest. Or is it the county? Is it the state? Is it the federal level? So I do think there is a whole lot of research that needs to be done also. But I also feel like the city of Atlanta is pitching in without it being our whole situation. I think we're doing our fair share for sure.
And to speak to what you're saying, obviously, we don't have, for anybody watching, the city of Atlanta does not have a health department. We are preempted from that.
we do not.
It is the county. So I understand what you're saying. So I think
that's where I'm getting to.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, what kind of efforts are you doing with the county? Do you have anybody that's working on your team now that's with the county? Because that's who's responsible for health and human services.
I think that was the goal of this pilot, right, is a collaborative approach. We want to bring those individuals to the table so that they understand what we are trying to do and how to move that needle. It's going to take more than just a Michael, right, in a neighborhood. We need the police involved. We need the commissioners involved. We need city
And you
council.
need the tax base where it lies. And the tax base in this state, it lies in Fulton County. And the state, it lies in Fulton County. Because I want you to have what you need.
Yeah.
I'm certainly willing to, you know, we've been throwing money at it now for years, and I'm certainly willing to continue that as long as I see outtake, for sure. But I want everyone to do their part so we can actually put a dent in this thing.
And so the approach of the hope was here, to your point, like the money that has been spent. And so I think as somebody, me having grown up doing direct services and having experience living in my car for a time and having worked in a number of the shelters in Atlanta, I think one of the reasons I really wanted to run and one of the reasons I really wanted to work with Princess and this group is because what makes In-Town unique is what makes these case managers unique and In-Town unique is the fact that they actually keep their employees. Like they've had the best case managers in the city because of their attainment and because they're the best trained. A lot of the case managers out there don't have the training that this team does. But also, we've thrown a lot of money, as you said, at this issue, and I feel that most cities have not done so in a data-backed way. The reason I really worked hard with them to get this, the reason we really worked hard to get this off the ground was to show how hyper-local, data-backed with just one person, just to start. And the reason we raised the $20,000 was not to ask each other neighborhood to do it, because East Atlanta wanted to lead and show that the city can do this and raise the money to say, like, okay, if we have to do that to get it off the ground, to show that we can do this citywide, we'll do it. And so now here we are, 10, 11 months in, having housed more than half of the unsheltered population of EAV with a neighborhood that actually wants to chip in, with developers coming to the table and say, how can I help build this on my property? It's been a game changer. And so I think if we can take this program, look at the neighborhoods in each of the districts that are hardest hit, have them meet with you and talk about how to do this. Like I said, we did this in East Atlanta, one of the hardest hit neighborhoods in the city, in a year for $100,000.
Listen,
So-
and your numbers, like the exact people that you're able to help and you're able to house and you're able to get on their feet, because that should all be our goal, to make sure that they can have a quality of life on their own, or to, if nothing else, figure out where their weaknesses are so they can strengthen those, or they can figure out the help that they need so that maybe one day they can. Like, that's where we all need to be. And that's what I hear from you all today. So congratulations, kudos to you. I don't know, don't have enough good things to say. Thank you for the invitation here today, Councilmember Bakhtiari. This is great work, and I just, I need more of this for the right price. Thank
housing
you. I
trust fund.
yield.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Overstreet. That concludes this presentation. Oh, Councilmember Bond.
Just one more comment before you go for you all and the committee. You know, this begs the question as for what you have done for a very modest amount of money is we need to look at everybody else who we're funding, right? I mean, and that includes, you know, PAD, Gateway, everybody who gets a grant from the city of Atlanta, because you all have frankly put them to shame. I mean, if you know, people that we're funding that are supposed to be delivering this type of service, and you know, they come back and they got their hands up, but yet they're applying for more money, and we're paying out more money. And you know, you all have shown real results, and so, you know, I never cheated off anybody's paper, but if somebody had the right answer, I'd take it. Right? You know what I'm saying? So if they're doing something right, we need to be emulating this across the board, right?
I think one thing that's been really instrumental is that we have a very high quality case manager. He's there at all the hours that's needed. He's doing trainings with the neighborhood. He's responding to phone calls. He's passionate about this work, and he's putting in whatever needs to happen. And then these. he has his own phone number that the neighborhood, for this specific neighborhood, that anyone can call or text. He goes above and beyond. He's on social media. I think the other thing that's been really instrumental is the president of our neighborhood association is aligned on this. He's bought in. I'm on the street outreach committee head. I'm bought in, and so there's leadership in the neighborhood that's also invested in making this a success. So that means the president of our neighborhood association is following up and checking in, and there's accountability on both sides. I think you need all of that to make it a success.
And to that degree, I think that this neighborhood and this community would love to come and help and do a presentation in any other areas as a model. And I also wanted to add the point that you said about the keys and the outside. The reason this is also different is because we're housing a lot of people in rapid housing, but when you have chronically unsheltered folks who have been churned out of the system repeatedly, and then you put them in a house without any wraparound services and say, pay your taxes, feed yourself, do this, they are going to end up back on the street, or they are going to be followed by a dealer who is going to set up operations in that house. The reason permanent supportive housing is so fantastic and why we've done this targeted approach in this way is that the folks that we have housed that have been chronically homeless for many years in East Atlanta, the over 40 people who are going to be housed come the end of this year, they are folks who are going to get wraparound services in that, and then be moved into permanent housing. And then hopefully you'll be able to work with people like Commissioner Flanagan to do vocational training and get them into our watershed departments and DPW and other things. And it'll lead to massive increases in revenue for the city. It's just wins all around. So that's all I want to say. And I think that the executive director wanted to say a word.
Thank you, council members. Councilmember Bond, yeah, to your point,
And if you could introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry. Brad Schweers, Executive Director at In Town Cares. Yeah, I think we need lots of tools in our tool belt in the city. Homelessness is not a homogenous issue. And so there's absolutely a place for PAD. There's absolutely a place for Gateway Center. There's absolutely a place for our kind of outreach work. I think what we found to be really key is a community that's dedicated to not kind of shipping their issues and problems away, but community leadership and council leadership to say we want to invest long term in this neighborhood here, and then really having a person embedded in that community on a regular basis. And that kind of approach is replicable in other neighborhoods. We've already started in Councilmember Dozier's District 4. We're starting up in Councilmember Wan's District 6 and others. So we're looking to repeat this kind of work. Again, an ecosystem where there are lots of different tools needed, but for the population that we're addressing, I think we've found something that's pretty special.
Well, no, I agree, and I appreciate what you said, but the reality is that, I got elected in '93, okay? And we have been funding organizations supposedly doing what you all are doing, right? And, of course, there are people who are chronically homeless. There are people who are unhoused that come to Atlanta every day, so the situation changes every day. But a lot of these organizations have been here for a long time too, right? And so if they are not performing or showing the same results that you all, and pardon the flippant characterization, I mean, you've got a felt hat and you pulled a rabbit out of it without any no muss, no fuss, and you're getting good results at less of an economic impact to the city. So, I mean, this is a wake-up call to me, because it highlights that these other organizations that say they're providing similar services, I'd like to see some type of analysis done to see if we can aggregate what they're really doing based on, the success that you're having. We need to do this because it's serious. When I was first married, I lived in my car right there on Parkway Drive with my daughter and my wife for 5 days. I've been there. Okay, I know what it's like to be out there on the street. I mean, it's real. And so to be here and to fund organizations year in and year out, and we come right back, right? CBDG, we're going to do reprogramming. They're going to apply for all this money, and then we're spending millions, and then people who are criticizing us, who are walking past the unhoused every day, are like, the city's not doing anything. And I'm like, whoa, we spent this much money. We funded these organizations. And yet you all have started this up and have turned it around. Right, it is dedicated, but a lot of these other neighborhoods don't know that what you know. You know what I'm saying? They don't know that they can do what you all have done. And if we're going to be making an investment as a city, I'd rather put my money in something like this than traditionally what we've done, and we're still, getting the same result. Because Albert Einstein said, the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing and expecting a different result. What you all do is definitely different, it's innovative, and of course, economically, it's cheaper. And it's more impactful for the lives of these people, and it's improving everybody's life. This is something to be emulated.
Yeah, well, we're certainly interested in partnering with council to do more of this work throughout the city.
Well, I mean, you all probably should, if at a minimum, a service like yours ought to be training some of these other groups that say that they're performing this type of service. It needs to be emulated.
Happy to do that as well.
Well, I'm supportive of that, and I'll withdraw. I don't want take up all the time, but
Thank you.
I'm very impressed.
Thank you, Councilmember Bond. Any other questions or comments from colleagues? All right. Thank you all to the In-Town team for joining us today. Our next presenter is Commissioner John Flanagan with the city's Department of Labor and Employment Services. No pressure, but you have a tough act to follow.
Thank you, Chair Winston. Dozier, I will do my best, but yes, it was a tough act to follow. It's great to hear some of those exciting programs going on. Thank you, members of committee and those on council for allowing me to present to you today. My name is John Flanagan. I'm the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Labor and Employment Services, and this serves as our quarterly update for activity in the department. All right, so quick, I just would like to introduce, I do it every meeting, but none of this gets done without Dr. Sharina Walker, Ms. Wilson Westmoreland, and Ms. Theresa Austin Gibbons, my three very capable and talented deputy commissioners overseeing different parts of the organization. We have essentially filled out our organizational chart. So way back when, about 1.5 years ago, we had one employee. We had Ms. Humida Embry. So within a short period of time, we have essentially filled out our entire organization, and you'll see it in some of the data that I present as it relates to results. So we like to do everything and include Mayor Dickens' 4 pillars of progress. And we all know what those are, and I'll update a few things in there. Certainly a city of opportunity for all. We've already assisted 414 people into employment in this fiscal year between federal and signature programs, all the way from general eligibility where somebody can come in off the street. Even the 4 of y'all, if you're looking for a new job, you can come in on the street. We could provide you with some base services and help you enter employment, all the way to some of those eligibility-based intensive programs. As another part of what we do is we provide labor education and awareness for our community. So if you have, employees that are concerned that they may be a victim of wage theft or misclassification, we provide education and awareness for those individuals, as well as our employers, mostly our small employers, to help them kind of stay within the confines of what they should be doing with staff. Now, we do this in partnership. We are not a lawmaking body or a rulemaking body, so we work with our friends at the Georgia Department of Labor, who they have the oversight over that. But we provide a community service. We've already done our first one. It was back in, I think it was August 29th. And we served about, 21 community members and employers. So you'll see these done on a quarterly basis. Our goal is to provide education to 10 employers and 150 community members. So we're already well on our way there. Number 3 is I'll talk more about this, both in this presentation, and there's something on the agenda as well. Our strategy is to increase funding through strategic partnerships and philanthropy. And we've already done that. So between our partnership with the Annie E. Casey Foundation and a new partnership with the Blank Foundation, we've already received a little less than $700,000, or we're going to receive about $700,000 that's going to help 125 individuals into training and ultimately employment. So it's a great success for our department. And we will also, what we want to do is assist internal city departments, whether it's Parks and Rec, whether it's Watershed, whether it's DPW, on helping fill some of the employment gaps that they have, particularly on the entry-level side. So we are working with my counterparts and figuring out how we do that, whether that's through apprenticeship, pre-apprenticeship, or just posting jobs and doing some screening for them. So that's also underway as well. So a quick update. Again, just talked about it a minute before, but we have a partnership with the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation. We are going to identify and assist up to 75 justice-involved young Atlantans from the Vine City English Avenue area and place them into training and on-the-job training and classroom training with focuses on healthcare and IT. It was a $486,000 award, and again, helping 75 people, and then you add the other 50 we're going to assist in with our partnership with the Annie E. Casey Foundation. You're talking about anywhere between a $3 and a $5 million overall impact to these neighborhoods when you just take the average wage or the median salary of the city of Atlanta. When you put 125 people back to work or into work, it's about a $4 million impact to those communities, whether it's through wages spent at local businesses, rent or mortgages to local homeowners and landlords. It's a great success. So what we get, and we really wanted to make sure that we did this at no additional cost to the taxpayer. So really involving our philanthropy community is really one of our biggest strategic directives as a department. So I'll talk a little bit about the mayor's signature program. So our SYEP reports, our Summer Youth Employment Report, the closeout data is due on September 30th. I was hoping I would have this for you all today to talk about it, but we will give an in-depth report at our next quarterly presentation to CDHS. But we've served somewhere, I think, in the neighborhood between the two of, Ms. Gibbons, was it around 6 to 7? About 6,000 individuals will have received services, about 1,300 between signature programs and departmental internships, and then the balance are with our employer partners in the Be Counted initiative. So it's a great success. 6,000 young Atlantans got career education, career awareness, or direct employment through wages this summer. So it's fantastic. Our partnership with Annie E. Casey, again, we're going to provide our SYEP participants and permanent placement opportunities. That's going to be up to 50 of those individuals to make sure that we build on the momentum that they had in the summer and move them into permanent employment with some supports that we're going to get from the Casey Foundation. We had 14 successful completions of our career readiness boot camp through Annie E. Casey Foundation, and we have 2 more upcoming boot camps for October 2024. And those are the employment readiness boot camps for those individuals that we're going to move from temporary to permanent employment. And we had our first employer roundtable where 17 employers are in attendance, and additional employer roundtables are coming in the very near future. So some of the stuff we've done on the business services side, we had our community career fair where we had 21 businesses and community partners attend, and we had a little over 100 job seekers that attended as well. About a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, we had a FEMA hiring event. And they were for reserve logistics specialist positions. Here's a great thing. We had 72 offers sent to job seekers, and we've confirmed 32 new hires. Those jobs pay an average of about $21 to $33 an hour, so life-sustaining wage jobs. And we're going to have another event in November. We just haven't had that date determined yet. So again, some more great successes. We had a partnership with we have a partnership with the T.D. Jakes Foundation at Mays High School, and we're going to have a job and resource fair on November 9th. We had a Post 1 community food and resource drive-by where we served between 100 and 200 families with food and resource information about workforce development, amongst other things. And then our Future Gen Career and Resource Fair at the Covenant House. We informed employment and training resources to 125 attendees, and our Mays High School ESPN Job Fair and Resource Center informed 200 youth of the services that we have at the Department of Labor and Employment Services. So busy department this past quarter. talk a little bit about our labor update on the labor education and awareness side. We did want to highlight some of the work, certainly that the mayor's office has done in looking at bonuses for police officers, premium pay increases, and the significance of this, this along with the comprehensive class and pay study really shows the city of Atlanta's dedication and support to its frontline workers. So we were really happy to be involved in any way that we could on that. And then we actively involved in some of our annual Labor Day festivities. All right, so I talked about it a little bit before, our labor rights education program. We had our first event, and that was facilitated by our internal staff. And then we've got two organizations, Georgia Stand Up and Partnership for Southern Equity, to whom we awarded $20,000 to create a comprehensive education and awareness campaigns for them to really kind of integrate into their specific areas. And this program will include workshops, informational sessions, resource distribution, and these all help educate employers about fair labor practices, workplace safety, and other critical labor issues. I will blow through the finance update. So when we're going to do some quick updates on 24 and FY25. Thank you to council and certainly the mayor's office and council for adopting our budget of $1 million. That is a 100% increase over the year before, and we're already starting to see it to pay dividends when you look at, from a placement perspective, we're already ahead of where we were in the first year of the existence of the department, and we're not even through the end of the first quarter yet. So those funds are really having a pretty dramatic impact. And when you talk about some of our federal grants, we fully expended our grant from 2 years ago. We've carried forward some funds from last year, and this year we are awarded a little less than $3.6 million from our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act program. That's the bulk of the funding that the Department of Labor and Employment Services receives, and that is for our WorkSource Atlanta program. So that's our workforce development service at our location at 818 Pollard. And then this is just kind of an overall snapshot of our budget for this year. And then I'll quickly touch on workforce services. These are our federal programs. Every year we elect a new chair, and that chair again is Jamie Jordan. He was our chair last year. He is with Accenture. And Melanie Winfield, I apologize for the misspelling of that, with Cox Incorporated is now our vice chair. From a performance standpoint, we met and exceeded our 12 performance goals. We added 5 new training providers to including but not limited to construction, CDL training, and IT programs that offer nationally recognized credentials. And we've launched new collaborations with Partners for Home and the Department of Juvenile Justice to assist justice-involved young individuals. Our local plan for WorkSource Atlanta, which is a federal requirement of the legislation and the funding that we receive, was submitted and approved by the Technical College System of Georgia, who is our oversight body for the state of Georgia. That happens every 4 years. These plans are 4 years in length, and every 2 years we typically do an update. So this will be the last time you see that for a while. And one thing that I'm really, proud of and happy to move forward on is the WorkSource Atlanta board completed its first strategic planning session on the 29th of August. This is something separate and different from a local plan that we have to do through the federal legislation, which is more legislative in nature. This allows our system, particularly our board of directors, to hyper-focus on areas of importance and areas of need. And this is just some of our data as it relates to our federal programs. And same data from the youth perspective. All right, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions council or committee may have.
Thank you, Commissioner Flanagan. Any questions or comments from colleagues? Councilmember Boone.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. I am concerned about the Second Chance program and those jobs for felons and those folks that are returning to society. Where are we on that? That is a big issue here nationally. So where are we on the Second Chance program and also providing jobs for those that are returning into society?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And you'll see particularly our program with the Blank Foundation specifically engages justice-involved individuals. So adding that to what we're doing with Second Chance is really important for us. It allows us to expand the capacity of the program.
So explain, if we have a constituent that we run into at a meeting or community gathering, or their grandmother or parent calls us, where can they start?
They can start right down at the Workforce Center on 818 Pollard. They can reach out to me. They can reach out to Deputy Commissioner Austin Gibbons, and we can get them moving through the program.
I cannot express how important that is to the fabric and success of this city. The Second Chance program must work here in the city of Atlanta. So please make that a priority on your agenda.
Absolutely.
Hey, Councilmember Boone, any other questions or comments from colleagues? I have a couple myself, and,
Sure.
and I'll try to keep them brief because I know we have another presentation after this one, Commissioner. And it's unfortunate I'm chairing today because I felt like you and I have talked about
Yeah.
this. This work has been in my professional wheelhouse for a very long time, and so I got a lot of questions, but I'm gonna keep them brief. One is, I know with your predecessor and with the work that this department is doing today that was under Invest Atlanta before, one of the challenges with the WIOA grant is that you're kind of limited in terms of the types of people that we can serve, and you know, that's a very finite amount of Atlantans that we're able to help with the work that we're doing. I appreciate the partnership that y'all are doing with the Blank Foundation to look at different targeted neighborhoods. I'm curious what other pipelines or funding opportunities y'all might have to maybe expand the programs that y'all are able to deliver so that more people who aren't part of that very limited demographic profile, so that more people can participate with the work y'all are doing.
Sure. So it's a great question. What we're doing right now is we're really making sure that we better utilize the resources we have through the federal WIOA programs as we find opportunities, particularly like one community, for an example, is our veteran community. You know, it's working with the state of Georgia to see what programs and services are available past your traditional job services veterans grant, but finding new organizations that we can partner with to do that is something that's always on top of mind. When I first started, one of the things and a lot of the feedback I got was, you know, let's work and you know, kind of having introductions to the Casey Foundation and the Blank Foundation, who are very specific in their geographic location in the city, was working on those, getting those kind of in our pocket, and then moving on to what the next, you know, moving on to the next thing. So that's really what we're looking at now, is trying to take an inventory of what's there and seeing what makes sense to partner with. But really, for us, it's really important that we make the best possible use of our federal resources, the Mayor's Signature Program dollars, whether it's through the general revenue we get, or whether it's through SYEP, or whether it's through some of the apprenticeship programs that we get, is how we're going to meet that issue head on first, and then try to expand partnerships. We need to show some evidence of the actual work. So when we go to these funders, there is a, for lack of a better word, a match that we provide. So it's not just, hey, we need this much money from you for a year, and then, you know, maybe the program's just going to fizzle out after that. So we want to make sure that we provide continuity when we're going out and working with funders.
Thank you. And then my comment is with this presentation, and just as y'all are talking about the programs y'all are doing and the impact that y'all are having, I'll be interested to see if within y'all's own data or within the conversations or the information that you're collecting, that y'all are tracking outcomes. I recognize that you're talking about the number of people that you served and how many job fairs you've done and this, that, and the other. I'm curious, you know, if y'all have data on number of people who've been placed in the job opportunities, what their salary or wage attainment has been, and using that as part of your storytelling to show, hey, there's an impact here. We could use a little bit more philanthropic dollars to get even bigger impact. But I think that will, for my edification, I would love to see what's come of the events y'all are doing.
Yeah, so I do have one data point in the presentation, and I kind of blew through it, so I apologize, but we've placed 414 people into employment in the first quarter this year. Our goal is 1,000 for this year, so we're well on that way. As it relates to wage and things like that, we've got the ability to get those wages very easily through our state system of record. We got to do a little work externally to make sure that we provide that wage data and information for all the signature programs, and we're working on a methodology to do that now.
Okay. And then one more level of complexity in the data. Also think about retention. I know 3 months, 6 months, a year down
Absolutely.
the line. What are these folks doing? Are they still at the same organization? Have they gotten promotions? Are they doing bigger and better things? We're just getting a sense of where our clients or our job seekers end up landing long term, and thinking about that from a context of what does a typical job seeker in Atlanta look like that's outside of our system, and seeing where we're providing some value add as well.
Yeah, so how we will do that is we call it co-enrollment. So all of our signature programs, we will co-enroll into some of our federal programs, particularly the non-eligibility based ones, because that provides the information that you talk about. So employment at entry, employment at 1 year, employment at 2 years, and then it will provide the average wage for that as well. So we'll be able to do that. That's going to take a little while just from the standpoint of timeline. You know, we're a new department, so we're still about a year out from showing some of that impact data that you're talking about.
Thank you. And like I said, this is my love language. So
I appreciate it.
any other questions or comments from colleagues? All right, Commissioner Flanagan, you're off the hook.
Thank you very much.
I think y'all are later on the agenda, but thank you for the presentation.
You bet. Thank you all.
All right. All right, colleagues, for our final presentation of the day, we have Commissioner Justin Cutler for the Department of Parks and Recreation for their quarterly update. Commissioner Cutler.
Good afternoon, Chair Dozier and members of the CDHS committee. Thank you for having me. Just real quickly, I forgot to hand this out. What you're having here is a supplemental to our presentation. This is what the Green Space Advisory Council put together and asked that I share with you today. So thank you to the members of the Mayor's Green Space Advisory Council. We meet quarterly with the mayor to talk about green space related issues. And this was a document that they put together today. So, well, on behalf of the Department of Parks and Recreation and our 400 plus employees, partners, friends groups, conservancies that make our work possible, thank you for having us here today. As a reminder, here are our mission and our vision and our Activate ATL goals. Also, I just want to give a special shout out to the Department of Law and the Department of Procurement. Without their partnership and support, much of what we do would not be possible, from reviewing leases and agreements and MOUs to helping procure and purchase materials. You know, these departments don't make quarterly presentations necessarily talking about the amazing work, but our work and their work is a result of the impact that you'll see today. So thank you to our friends and neighbors at the Department of Law and Department of Procurement. Just some summer highlights, and we'll talk about some other activities happening in the department. Quickly, here's our what Summer and Recreation 2024 has looked like. We had Senior Olympics, which happened last week. We brought home several gold medals in basketball and pickleball and several other sports. We'll likely be doing asking for some type of council recognition at a future council meeting, celebrating the amazing outcomes of our seniors. Our teen leader program has increased by 56%. We had our second year of girls flag football, which is an emerging sport now. We have over 100 girls participating in this program. We had 12 outdoor pools serving over 78,000 individuals. Through our free outdoor pools, popsicles in the park. We have over 24 movies in the park this year. So we have likely been in your council district or a couple times in your council district over this last summer. We had over 519 seasonal staff working closely with the Department of Labor to bring on new staff as well. And we hired over 175 teens, 101 lifeguards, and 239 Camp Best Friend staff and 4 interns. So a lot of people employed. And our Lake Allatoona field trip, we had over 1,200 happy campers go to our property on Lake Allatoona. Here's an event where we had a cornhole championship, and you can see the winners there with Cedric and our great athletics team. Also, this is a chart about our enrollment and where we compare in 2024 to 2023. As you can see, our numbers have increased by over 800 in our enrollment in Camp Best Friends, and our employment has gone up, as well as out of school time enrollment is up 200 kids in our out of school time program. So we continue to grow our programs coming out of the pandemic, as well as the team does a phenomenal job inviting more enrichment activities, STEM-based enrichment activities, job training enrichment activities, and many other activities for our young people. This is something that we started last year, and we're able to continue this year with the additional millage funding, allowing us to do more for both our youth and our seniors. Here's another comparison chart showing where we are at this time of year in 2023 compared to 2024, both for our Camp Best Friends program, as well as our teens, the Police Activity League, which we partner with, as well as our fall sports. So as you can see, the blue is 2024 and orange is 2023. So in most of these, if not all of these categories, we are above where we were at last year. One key highlight too, as we talk about Atlanta being the best place to raise a child, is making sure that our children are fed. And this last year, we served over 110,590 meals, both lunch and breakfast. This is an increase of 48% year over year for our summer lunch program. We also increased our sites from 29 sites last year to we increased our sites by 50%, and all of our outdoor pools now have a summer lunch program, meaning that kids both can swim for free as well as get food for free. And I think that's important because it both connects the kids who are swimming with a great meal and provides them that access to that safe swim environment. In addition to that, our racket sports and golf programs, we increased our community meetings, our ongoing pickleball court. We had a grand reopening recently at Washington and McGee. All of our courts will be resurfaced after this fall, and Agape continues to upgrade and install pro shops and expanded summer hours and beginning our pickleball program. We did $2.3 million worth of upgrades at Alfred Tupp Holmes Golf Course, and we recently completed the Mayor's Cup at Chastain Golf Course. And we did some upgrades to that course as well. Our mowing metrics, we continue with the additional millage money. This continues to help us meet our mowing targets. We increased those by 10% year over year. Our trimming and blowing is more consistent, again, a 10% increase. Garbage can service, litter and limb removal, arborists and forestry continue to do well. Our electrical HVAC dipped a little. With the summer, we oftentimes have more air conditioning complaints, and we are responding to those quickly, as well as some roofing challenges. And when the rain comes this week, we'll likely identify additional roofing needs, and we'll get on top of those. Our plumbing is up, and our carpentry is up by 25% and 27% respectively. These were two areas that we focused on most recently, given that historically they had been pretty low. You can see here at 52% and 69%. So we focused a lot on hiring, as well as bringing on additional contractors, and working to get the work done more quickly, because carpentry is kind of a catch-all. So this is playgrounds, this is benches. There's a lot of needs that come up related to carpentry, and so we wanted to make sure we were delivering for our community. This last year in 2024, we also broke the top 25 for the Trust for Public Land Park score. Some of the installations and upgrades that help us get here include the Atlanta Memorial Park Conservancy and Peachtree Battle Alliance opened Betty Young Park on April 25th. We had the Friends of Chosewood Park celebration, where we opened a new playground. Friends of Night Park celebration and new amenities on June 3rd. Friends of Lane Carson celebration on June 6th. Brownwood Park upgrades with Storm Reed on June 18th. AEDs in Westside Park this last week on the 18th. And this Friday, we'll be cutting ribbon on Harper Skate Park and the installation there with the Harper Friends Group. So a lot happening across our city, all with the effort of making Atlanta the best place to raise a child and achieving higher and higher on the Trust for Public Land Park score. Now, I know that this park score is just a number. What it means is that people are able to access our parks more readily. 79% of Atlantans are within a 10-minute walk of a park. We want to see that number continue to increase, so we're working with our Department of Law, we're working with DEEM on acquiring more property, and the Conservation Fund. And we have over 100 acres in the pipeline and should be adding those to our system by the end of the calendar year and into 2025. So we continue to make strides to both increase service as well as increase our impact. And if you look at this chart here, this is where it talks about the different levers and kind of connection points related to the Trust for Public Land Park score, the scorecard. So you'll see park acreage is one of the areas of greatest need, amenities, meaning basketball courts, picnic tables, and ball fields, and equity, meaning that making sure that everybody has access to our park. So those are the different factors that contribute to our overall park score. Moving on to our millage program. So we're working on our dashboard, and this will launch our tracking and our expenditures, so people will be able to go online and identify where the resources are going. We have our pending our final millage invoices paid report, and this will help us launch the dashboard. We have increased our equipment purchasing. We're starting to receive new vehicles, including vehicles for park maintenance, security, and more. We've added additional litter crews in partnership with CEO, which is a job training group. We have 1 litter crew, and we'll be increasing that to 3 litter crews. We also have a new garbage crew servicing the Beltline, as well as a graffiti crew servicing the Beltline, stump grinding and tree debris removal. This is an area that oftentimes council members get called when there's down limbs or stumps that need to be ground. I think I've received a phone call from each of you related to this issue, and so we've hired a new stump grinding contractor to make sure that we're starting to get through our backlog. So thank you to our contractors. Thank you to Taryn Heidel and Jason Ernst for their work on that as well. So we're starting to work through that list to address the backlog. In addition, this includes Roselle Fan interior repair, Anderson gym floor repair, new playground equipment at Chastain Park, roof replacement at Thomasville, repairs and improvements at Martin Luther King Jr. Recreation Center, Collier Park resurfacing 2 tennis courts, William Walker roof repair, replace and install new playground equipment at GH Stanton, replace and install new equipment at Cabbagetown, English Park installation of HVAC. We have encumbered vendor funding to support enhanced youth and teen programming as well as senior programming, and we encumbered funding to complete the Riverland Segment 1, which connects Standing Peachtree with the other side of the river to connect to downtown Atlanta and all the way to Alabama. And we also encumbered funding for a rear loader garbage truck to support park maintenance. So thank you again for your continued support of our park millage spending plan, which allows us to create great parks and recreation services for our community. We also continue to move Atlanta forward as part of the bond program. To date, we have 11 Moving Atlanta Forward bond projects that have been closed out. We have, as you can see on this slide here in the small print, we have 24 that are currently under construction, 4 in procurement, 25 that have not been started out of the total 71, 3 in planning and scoping, 4 in environmental design and review. And of the 11 that are completed, we completed the Cabbagetown Park improvement, CT Martin Pool Pack, East Lake Park improvements, Emma Milliken Park expansion and trail, land acquisition at Chattahoochee Brick, Maddox Park replacement playground and amenities, Melvin Drive Park replacement playground, Oakland Cemetery repaving and mobility improvements, Pittman Park walking trail, South Fork Park improvements through the Conservancy, and Tanya Creek Trail improvements. So we continue to move Atlanta forward and continue to deliver on the bond promise. Public safety is often a question that we get, and specifically in the millage, there was dedicated resources for safety. So we continue to make strides here, adding 250 new cameras in 13 parks. So we're now on phase 3, which includes Central Park, Historic 4th Ward, Mosley, Oakland Cemetery, Perkison, Reverend James Orange Park, which will now have cameras. In addition, the phase 1 and phase 2 cameras that we've already done. We've purchased the vehicles for our park ranger program. Currently, we're hiring and interviewing for park ranger supervisors, and then we'll be hiring 22 park rangers in total. And the job listing for the park rangers went live yesterday on the 23rd. So a lot of activity around safety. We can continue to get calls, and we continue to respond in partnership both with APD and our park rangers to make sure that our parks are safe spaces as well as welcoming for all people. We also have Trails ATL, which is our initiative approved by City Council in partnership with the Path Foundation. If you remember, in fiscal year, I believe, 24, Councilmember Westmoreland sponsored $250,000 to work directly with the Path Foundation to develop this citywide trails master plan. So we're currently we're starting our 3rd round of outreach, or currently in our 2nd round, and we'll be starting a 3rd round in the middle of October. And our plan is to have the draft plan completed by January, and then adoption through the comprehensive plan process along with Plan A. Just some fall events and activities that we have going on. We have Movies in the Park, which is, we doubled our offerings, and you can see here are the September and October dates. We have a new bike education program, Inner Explorer, which is a mindfulness program. We have pottery, jewelry making, smart STEM lab, esports, Atlanta Beltline group fitness, mental health, focus training, sports clinics, and much more. We also have football, cheer, Todd's volleyball, and football and volleyball. So if you don't have anything to do and you want to get plugged in, we have something for you to connect into. One last thing that the department staff has been working hard on is Atlanta 2024. This is the annual National Recreation and Parks Association Conference. This will be in Atlanta the week of October 7th through the 10th. We're a local host in partnership with the Georgia Recreation and Parks Association and Douglasville Parks and Rec. This is the largest gathering of parks and recreation professionals in the country. There'll be over 10,000 of our closest colleagues in town. So if you see a lot of people wearing park shirts, you'll know why. Hopefully they'll spend a lot of money and have a lot of fun, and they'll want to come back to Atlanta. But we have off-site tours exploring all over Atlanta. We have a golf tournament at Browns Mill Golf Course. Thank you to the Atlanta Track Club for helping us put on the 5K Fun Run, Walk and Roll in partnership with the Atlanta Beltline. And we'll have our ATL welcome reception the night of the 7th here at City Hall. So a lot happening there. And then last but not least, 2 slides about some upcoming activities. And you may have heard Councilmember Lewis talk about the Southside, the Hank Aaron Academy at the Southside Sports Complex. This is a great project that we're working on in partnership with the Braves, the Atlanta Fulton County Recreation Authority, Morehouse College, and you can see here the different levels of investment. And at the end of the day, the city of Atlanta is bringing a little bit of land and $3.75 million, and we're leveraging over $13 million in resources. So this is a great win for the city. The mayor and the chief operating officer specifically have been working on this project for some time, and so it's great to be able to deliver this as a community for our community. Some of the feedback we got that was really critical is that we need a new playground, so that's on the list, and a community room. The NPU really wanted to see a community room where they could come and gather, so we made sure that there's a 50-person community room that will be accessible from an exterior door, and they'll be able to use that space for community gatherings and events. So in addition, there'll be concessions, athletic offices, locker rooms, and a press box. In addition to that, we'll have our first dedicated senior facility, John A. White Golf and Senior Activity Center. This is the first of its kind, again, in partnership with the Atlanta Fulton County Recreation Authority. This is an exciting investment. This is going to be, by far, the best senior center in the country.
And ribbon cutting?
We anticipate the groundbreaking sometime before the end of the year, and then the goal is to have, at minimum, the feature field open by July 1st in time for the All-Star break.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
And Councilmember Westmoreland, Councilmember Bond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioner, for a very thorough and informative presentation. I wanted to ask you the eternal question, what's happening with the Vietnam Veterans Memorial at Piedmont Park?
Yes, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial continues to progress forward. We've identified the contractor that we're working with. We're waiting on the final design, and then we'll be submitting it for permitting. And our goal is to have it beginning construction in early part of 2025, with it being completed sometime in 2025.
So we're going to miss Veterans Day this year.
We will. I know that we talked about doing some type of celebration in conjunction with this Veterans Day, so let me check with the team and get back to you and see what we can put together.
Okay.
But we do know that we want to do something. Yeah.
All right.
And I think there's a couple days. I think there's Veterans Day, there's Armed Forces Day, which is in April, there's Memorial Day in May, and there's Flag Day. So I think those are some touch points that we could look to tie an event to throughout the year. But if you have a suggestion as to what day would work best for you and the committee, we're happy to make that happen too. So.
Well, I mean, if we did something on in and around Veterans Day, because I'm always concerned about the longevity of our dear friends. But I'm pleased to hear about the progress.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bond. Any other questions from colleagues? I had just a couple, Commissioner. One, I know I've been communicating back and forth with Mr. Hicks with regards to Winter Street Park in Mechanicsville. I would like to just bump that at the top of the inbox to get that moving forward. Our office is ready. We already have money set aside to get those park enhancements going. So we'll love to get that project moving forward as best we can.
Yep.
And then secondly, I know you sent this to me in my office before, but the maintenance schedule that y'all have, especially for the parks in my district, the dates that y'all come out to do litter cleanup, to do mowing, that sort of stuff. I got some specific questions from constituents, and I'm having trouble finding the original email that you sent me. If you or someone from information,
Okay.
that'd be greatly appreciated.
Yep.
Councilmember Bond. Oh, sorry. I just didn't take you off the speaker list. Sorry. Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Thank you. You basically, well, one, I called the commissioner, forgetting that today was his quarterly report last night, and asked him maybe a booklet of questions. So you've taken care of a lot of my concerns, but also the pieces that you brought up that I've been concerned about, the park ranger program, park improvements, all of those things. Truly on operations, y'all have really been phenomenal, and I'm just very grateful. And I want to say we actually left off a lot of the parks in District 5 that y'all have also continued to work on, which is East Lake Park. I mean, you included Bessie Brown. Well, you had Brownwood, East Lake, but also Bessie Branham's getting massive improvements. We had the Kirkwood Urban Forest acquisition and a number of other things. So I also want to just commend y'all for the amount of green space that we've also acquired in the last 2 years. So thank you.
Yeah, and that all wouldn't be possible without the Conservation Fund and Stacy Funderburk and Roberta Moore. So thank you to both of them for their leadership on the acquisition side.
Thank you. And I'm hoping to bring you 2 more. So
Sounds great.
keep working on it.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Bakhtiari. Any other questions or comments from colleagues? All right. Seeing none, Commissioner Cutler, you're off the hook for now. That takes us back to our legislative agenda. We've already completed communications, so we're on Section H, ordinances for first reading. Mr. Evans, if you can sound the caption.
Item number 2 is 24-0-1532, an ordinance by Community Development and Human Services Committee amending the FY 2025 budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations in the amount of $934,800.00 to increase the budget amount for the Santa Fe Villas housing complex and authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into a housing assistance payments contract with GNS Santa Fe Villas LLC effective January 1, 2025 and ending December 31st, 2025 at an amount not to exceed $934,800.00 for the purpose of paying rental subsidies on behalf of 100 units for low-income, formerly homeless individuals at Santa Fe Villas Housing Complex pursuant to the Section 8 Moderate Rehabilitation Program sponsored by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
All right, thank you. That is the only item we have for first read. That takes us to items for second read. Please sound the caption for the item number 3.
It's 24-0-1497, an ordinance by Community Development and Human Services Committee to adopt the 2025-2029 capital improvements element, which includes capital improvements that the city intends to fund in whole or in part with development impact fees in compliance with the requirements of the Georgia Development Impact Fee Act and for other purposes.
Colleagues, I believe the department would like us to hold this item. So there's a motion to hold by Councilman Westmoreland. I will second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
Item is held. Next item.
Item number 4, 24-0-1506, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea L. Boone authorizing the mayor or his designee to accept Shelter and Services Program grant funding from the Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, in an amount not to exceed $10,819,662.00 to execute any necessary grant agreements, to amend the fiscal year 2024 intergovernmental grant fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations an amount not to exceed $10,819,662.00 and for other purposes.
We have Paulina Guzman, the Mayor's Office of Immigrant and International Affairs. Good to see you.
Yes, thank you. Hi, good afternoon, City Council. Thank you for having me. My name is Paulina Guzman, Executive Director for the Mayor's Office of International and Immigrant Affairs. So we are seeking approval from City Council to accept the Shelter and Services Program Allocation Award so that we may be able to continue to provide critical support to organizations in their efforts to provide food, shelter, and services to individuals and families encountered by the United States Department of Homeland Security who have entered through the southwestern border and who are now awaiting the outcome of their immigration proceedings. The Shelter and Services Program allocated, as is outlined in the legislation, is a DHS and Federal Emergency Management Agency funded program that provides grant funding to non-federal entities that serve non-citizen migrants that have been recently released from DHS custody and require services for stabilization, including shelter, food, transportation, medical care, case management services, and other needs. And on July 8th, 2024, DHS and FEMA awarded the City of Atlanta $10,819,662 with the performance period running concurrently from October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2026. And I'm happy to answer any questions regarding this legislation.
Councilmember Bakhtiari.
It's okay, it's a big number, it's hard to say.
I got
know you
there.
got it. So first of all, happy belated birthday. So
Thank you. Thank
This
you.
was fun. But also just like, this is amazing, but I also wanted to just ask, would you mind sending the underlying grant application just for like my own edification so I
Yes,
understand?
absolutely.
And also just when you have a chance, also just sending how migrant shelters are allocated versus resident shelters, just so I know, because thank you to y'all for helping us, my office, also get out information around this and some other initiatives and ensuring that they're actually bilingual. So I just wanted to, one, thank you for that, and also ask for those 2 items whenever you have a chance, and also motion to approve.
The motion to approve by Bakhtiari, second by Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
And the item carries 4 yeas, 0 nays. And before we wrap up this item, Director Guzman, I just want to say, I don't know if you're listening to public comment earlier. I know there were some very hurtful remarks that were shared by members of the public. Thank you to Councilman Westmoreland for responding to that. And I just want to say thank you to you and your team for all the work that you're doing to ensure that Atlanta remains a welcoming city to our immigrant community. I know, Atlanta is an international city, and a big part of that is the work y'all are doing each and every day to keep us an international city.
Absolutely.
And just to piggyback off of that, I want to make it very clear that immigrants are not coming here for people's jobs, as was stated today on public comment. So just needing to clarify that again. So thank you both for saying that.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item.
Item number 5 is 24-01507, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea L. Boone authorizing the Chief Financial Officer or his designee to provide funding from the Gulch Housing Trust Fund to the City of Atlanta Fulton County Land Bank Authority, Inc., DBA Metro Atlanta Land Bank, in a total amount not to exceed $1,442,000.00 for the public purpose of preparing foreclosed properties for redevelopment with a focus on creating and preserving affordable housing, to authorize the mayor as designee to execute any required agreement to the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Atlanta and MALB, and to authorize the Chief Financial Officer or his designee to make all payments from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
We have Matt Bedsole, a Senior Policy Analyst with the Mayor's Office of Policy. I can't ever remember the name of your office's name.
Director of the Housing Innovation Lab.
We'll go with that. Thank you so much.
With the mayor. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Please speak to this legislation.
Yep. So this is continued relationship, part of our continued relationship with the Metro Atlanta Land Bank to address the NREM procedures. So this is, I think, part of our multi-year process to improve how those properties are taken down. So this will fund the Metro Atlanta Land Bank from the administration side. It also help fund some of the legal work that needs to go into getting these properties in a more productive position.
Thank you. Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Thank you. I want to preface by saying I love this initiative, and I've loved pretty much everything that comes out of your office. As my time on council, well, in my 3 years now on council, which is some time, to learn a lot. I've noticed obviously devil is in the details, And this, similar to the blight tax, I'm always concerned about how we're actually executing. So I know that y'all have said in the legislation, you recognize that a lot of the properties have title issues, and that through the interim process, that we're able to take some of those properties, if they're unfit, obviously for habitation. I'm always concerned with these initiatives because if done incorrectly, it can be rather predatory. And so I'm curious about, it feels, if we're putting the money into clearing titles, are we not also giving people that have the title issues that may not have the money or the resources to clear their title issues because they can be expensive and complicated? Are we not providing, if we're going to clear titles, can we not also offer support for people to clear their titles before taking the property?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So I'll start by saying is that this is a switch from judicial in rem to administrative in rem. And part of that switch is to address that exact concern, is that it actually allows a lot more flexibility and choice for what types of properties we target for this. And so we're able to, for example, if there are more predatory landlords or absentee landowners in highly prioritized neighborhoods for revitalization, we can go after those types of properties. The judicial system right now is sort of blind to that, and so it ends up creating these sort of predatory systems. The second is that we can get it in the hands, this process will be in the hands, well, we'll still have the administrative REM process, but we'll be working with the land bank through it. So it does gives us the ability to create those exact same scenarios you described, where we can provide resources for families that want to basically clear their title and get them in a position where they can own their property.
I'm glad to hear that, but so acknowledging that a lot of these properties are dilapidated because they cannot acquire clear title, so therefore they can't work on it. Also acknowledging that they then become a hazard to the community, and understanding that when they typically are demolished, affordable housing does not go in their place. So I hear all of that. I just want to make sure that the people, that there are, by far, that we have so many negligent property owners. That's very real. I just want to make sure that we have the systems in place and we're paying attention to the details so that we're giving people the opportunity to clear their liens and actually maintain ownership of their home instead of clearing out affordability for other affordability. And I wanted to also ask you, will this be mostly being done through our interim in this, like in municipal, or is it going to be done with the solicitor's office?
My understanding is it's being done through the solicitor's office.
Okay.
So it's actually a switch from, I think it's through municipal court right now.
Okay.
But a lot of these things I'll make sure to confirm with it.
I appreciate that. I just wanted to flag really quickly that for the interim process, obviously contracting now for demolition is over a year out. So whatever we can to improve that process, if that's going to be a thing. But also, I do have concerns with the solicitor's office because it seems to me, I do respect their work, but I just want to flag that it doesn't feel like that they currently have the infrastructure to support these initiatives. So I love that we're doing them, but I want to make sure that we have the teams in place to actually see it through so that the administration is actually getting, and the council, what we are investing in, what we're telling to the public. Because right now with the blight tax and everything else, I'm not seeing a solicitor's team actually bringing things forward, and I want to make sure that that's something we are improving upon so that we're actually putting these systems in place and making sure they succeed, because your office is getting really innovative. That's fantastic. We have to just make sure that the structure is there to ensure these things go through, because I can tell you my district's all over it, and they're being met with a solicitor's office telling them that these things aren't possible, which is not what we're hearing from the administration through this legislation. I want to make sure that everyone knows that they're on board with the mayor's, with the goals he's setting and what the council's supporting. And if there's anything you can do to help us assuage those concerns, or some sort of meeting we can get with the solicitor's office, because right now it feels that they're operating in a silo and we aren't getting updates. And I don't know that they have the ability to actually carry these things through. That is my big concern. Yeah.
Yeah, noted. And like I said, this is a long process to get even to where we are right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say is that this legislation is not going to solve every problem that we have with it. We've got a lot more work to do. And I think more administrative, probably more than, I mean, we're taking care of the legal problem, but now there's an administrative problem. So I'm sure we will be back.
Yes.
To give you all an update and probably, a new program or something very soon.
And I want to acknowledge that this is not me trying to be opposed. This is me trying to say, like, I want us to be the best that we can be and making sure that we have a system that actually works so that we're not back here in a year trying to figure it out again.
Yeah, no, we need as much attention on this as possible.
And to the degree that you can help us iron out the details and concerns about the lien piece, and to whatever you can educate me in my office, I would just love to learn more so that I can.
So I'll get my team and we can sit you down.
concludes my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from colleagues? So motion to approve by Westmoreland. I will second. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed.
Item is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. Next item.
Item 6 is 24-0-1510, an ordinance by Councilmember Byron D. Amos to waive Chapter 2, Article 9, Division 1, Section 2-910, and to ratify the City of Atlanta's submission of an application on behalf of the Department of Labor and Employment Services to apply for and accept an award for the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation Pathways to Career Empowerment Grant to serve up to 75 justice-involved individuals with career, training, and employment services in an amount not to exceed $486,000.00, to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute any necessary agreements to accept the award, to amend the fiscal year 2025 intergovernmental grant budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations in an amount not to exceed $486,000.00, all funds charged to and paid from the fund account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Colleagues, before I give Commissioner Flanagan an opportunity to speak to this legislation, we actually need to amend this paper to add account strings. So I'll go ahead and move to amend. Second by Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Are you aye?
I believe Councilmember Bakhtiari is reflected as an aye.
The vote is closed.
All right, the motion to amend is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. Commissioner Flanagan.
Thank you, Chair Dozier. Again, spoke about this a little bit in my quarterly update. This is a partnership with the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation to provide these needed services to justice-involved individuals aged 18 to 30 in the English Avenue, Vine City area. And it is for training and placement into employment services. It's got a 2-year life cycle, and we expect to serve 75 individuals, again, between the ages of 18 and 30 in those areas.
There's a motion to approve as amended by Westmoreland, second by Norwood. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
Item is favorable as amended, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Next item.
Thank you.
Item number 7 is 24-0-1515, an ordinance by Councilmember Antonio Lewis to amend the land use element of the City of Atlanta's 2021 Comprehensive Development Plan so as to designate certain properties located in the Pittsburgh community from the single-family use classification to mixed-use low-density classification and for other purposes.
Colleagues, this item will need to be held because it still needs a public hearing. There's a motion to hold by Bakhtiari, a second by Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, the item is held, 5 yeas, 0 nays. That concludes ordinances for a second reading. That takes us to resolutions. Please sound the next caption.
Item number 8 is 24-R-4109, a resolution by Councilmember Byron D. Amos authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed $250,000 to Grove Park Foundation pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter to support community leadership in Grove Park and historic Weston Heights neighborhoods, to authorize the mayor or his designee to enter into a donation agreement which shall detail the actions of the Grove Park Foundation to provide support for community leadership in the Grove Park neighborhood and Weston Heights neighborhoods, to authorize the chief financial officer or his designee to make the donation authorized hereby from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
All right, colleagues, before we discuss this item, we need to amend it to include some account information for the donation. I will move to amend. There's a second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
All right, the motion to amend is favorable, 5 yeas, 0 nays. I believe Susan Rutherford with the Office of the Mayor was going to speak to this item, but I think she might have stepped out. There's a motion to move approval as amended by Westmoreland, second by Norwood. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
And the item is favorable as amended, 5 yeas, 0 nays. However, I will give Ms. Rutherford an opportunity. Oh, sorry, 4 yeas, 1 abstention. Thank you so much. I'll give Ms. Rutherford an opportunity. If there's anything you want to add, you don't have to if you don't want to, but just. Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
It's a favorable. Okay.
Please let the record reflect. Please let the record reflect that so far I don't have a report for next week. So Councilman Norwood is a yay on that. Ms. Rutherford.
My apologies for leaving the room. Hi, Susan Rutherford. I'm with the Mayor's Office in the Office of the Chief Policy Officer. And this is a donation for Grove Park Foundation, which is one of our community quarterback organizations that runs the, to do their community engagement and housing work within the, and economic development work within the Grove Park neighborhood. Any questions that came up?
None.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to our next item.
Item number 9 is 24R4114, a resolution by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter, authorizing the City of Atlanta, on behalf of the Mayor's Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, to donate a total amount not to exceed $10,000.00 to Rainbow Railroad to support the resettlement and integration of LGBTQI+ refugees in Atlanta through the Welcome Corps program, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a donation agreement with which shall detail the actions of Rainbow Railroad concerning its Welcome Corps partnership in Atlanta, and to authorize the chief financial officer or his designee to make all payments from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Thank you. Colleagues, before we discuss, we do have an amendment to add account strings, and so I'll go ahead and move to amend to include that account info. Second by Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
The motion to amend is favorable, 5 yeas, 0 nays. We have Malik Brown, Director of LGBTQ. Y'all, this has been a long day.
LGBTQIA+. I got you.
Thank you. Mr. Director Brown, good to see you.
Hi, good to see you. Thank you all for having me. It's hard. I have to say that about 40 times a day. Thank you for having me. I'm here to talk about this proposed partnership. It is between the City of Atlanta and Rainbow Railroad, which was founded in 2006. It's an organization that helps LGBTQ individuals escape persecution and find safety. It's estimated that over 120 million people are displaced worldwide, and so we know that this work is more critical now than ever. But if you think about places like Chechnya, Uganda, and Afghanistan, being LGBTQ can threaten your life. And Rainbow Railroad steps in with some vital resources, whether it's travel assistance to help people relocate to places like Toronto, Berlin, and hopefully soon Atlanta. They also provide wellness support and technical assistance to advocates who are on the ground and choose to stay and fight for change in their communities. This is a partnership with the U.S. government Welcome Corps, and so it allows individuals to sponsor LGBTQ refugees who are relocating funding. This legislation would formalize the City of Atlanta's partnership, making Atlanta one of Rainbow Railroad's 4 key cities in the United States for this type of work. It'll enable the City of Atlanta through the Office of International and Immigrant Affairs, you talked to Paulina earlier, and the Division of LGBTQ Affairs to help recruit volunteers to support them, connect to local nonprofits, and then offering some rapid, unrestricted funding to individualized resources. And the last thing that I'll say is that our hope is that when LGBTQ refugees move to Atlanta through this program, they'll be greeted by a warm community who's ready to support in finding a job, a place to live, or just navigating the city. So thank you all for the consideration and the support, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from colleagues?
I'll second that.
There's a motion to approve as amended by Westmoreland, second by Bakhtiari.
And also just wanted to thank you for this because Atlanta is a place where kids, like LGBTQ kids, flee to. I mean, we're talking about globally, absolutely.
Yeah.
But this initiative is so important because in the South, we are the one place that kids can go. So thank you.
Thank you.
And while the vote is coming up, I'll add, I think the theme of the day is the recognition that Atlanta is a welcoming community for all.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
I'm glad to see this thread continue to be tugged a little bit.
Yeah. My family moved here from Barbados and Trinidad, so I resonate with that theme too.
All right, the item is favorable as amended, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, our next item.
Next item, number 10, 24R4115, a resolution by Council Member Jason Winston of the City of Atlanta declaring its preliminary determination of its intention to provide financial assistance for the redevelopment of the 2 Peachtree property into a transformative transit-oriented mixed-use development situated in the heart of downtown Atlanta and for other purposes.
Colleagues, this item actually has a substitute that adjusts the whereas clauses as well as increases the amount of the loan from $200 million to $250 million. There's a motion to bring forth the substitute by Bakhtiari. I will second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Motion to bring forth the substitute is favorable, 5 yeas, 0 nays. We have Dr. Eloisa Clementich, the CEO of Invest Atlanta. Good to see you, as always.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Eloisa Clementich, proud president and CEO at Invest Atlanta. In October of 2022, the Invest Atlanta board voted to approve the acquisition of 2 Peachtree and 14 Marietta from the state of Georgia. 2 Peachtree is a 41-story office tower built in 1968, located in the heart of our city's downtown. The redevelopment of 2 Peachtree is not only an economic revitalization project, but it is also the largest office-to-residential conversion in Georgia and a landmark event in the city of Atlanta. The property will become a mixed-income, mixed-use site focused on bringing more than 600 housing units, of which a minimum of 200 will be affordable, and renewed energy to downtown Atlanta. We believe that this project is about a $400 million investment. So we are exploring all financing tools available to ensure the viability of this project. We are looking at a public-private investment with support from several sources, from the philanthropic community, from the state through the low-income housing tax credits, and from the federal government. We are looking at historic tax credits, but we're also looking at a new development tool at Department of Transportation known as the Transportation Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act, or TIFIA. This project qualifies for this financing tool since we are less than a half a mile from a MARTA transportation hub. TIFIA provides an immense opportunity to provide direct federal low-interest loan to this project. So let me, in summary, talk about how does this tool work and what are the benefits of this tool. TIFIA offers low interest rates at about 2 to 3%, which are unlike any other conventional loan. They do not charge a spread on that treasury rate. This is one of the main reasons why TIFIA is so attractive. It also provides long-term financing, anywhere from 30 to 40 years. This fixed rate allows the development team to lock in their liabilities and not be subject to any financial market turmoil, and ultimately any long-term loan that allows for the project to have a lower payment on their loan. The third benefit is the developer is allowed to prepay at par, which basically means no prepayment penalty. So if rates drop, the team can look into refinancing. And the fourth is a permanent loan is executed at the construction closing. So there is no chance of financial markets impacting the refinance of the project when the building delivers. In order for the project team to use this financing tool, an application must be submitted to DOT. With this application, there is one requirement that the project must meet, which is why I'm here today. Per the application guidelines, the project requires a financial guarantee from credit-worthy institution like the City of Atlanta. Again, we are doing this so we can comply with TIFIA guidelines. In fact, we will need to pursue investment grade rating from at least 2 rating agencies. We believe the request we are making today is possible because there is precedent to such a structure. Not exactly with TIFIA, but a similar financial structure. The Recreation Authority entered into a similar arrangement with State Farm's parking arena structure. This project was so well developed that there has been no impact to the City of Atlanta's general fund. We are taking this project's success and structuring in a very similar way. So for today, we are asking for your consideration to, 1, enter into a non-binding TIFIA application to DOT and to the credit agencies, as this project supports the city's affordable housing goals. And 2, show the City of Atlanta's intent to partner in this office to residential conversion in the heart of the city's downtown. If we are awarded, since we're only in the application phase, if we are awarded, we will come back to this council with the complete proposal, which will include the capital stack, the amount, the terms, and all other details regarding the approval from Department of Transportation. And I will note that we are working very closely with the CFO and his amazing finance team and the city's financial advisors to find a way to responsibly structure this project. Truly, all the partners on this project are looking for every possible opportunity to support this project, including this federal new dollars into our city, as we believe that this project is very important to downtown's revitalization, to bringing more people downtown, housing and affordable housing, and ultimately the creation of a 24-hour downtown. I'm a very positive person. The cup will always be half full. So I like to say not rather if we are awarded, but when we are approved, we will be the first, if not one of the first in the nation to use this TIFIA tool to address this issue of underutilized commercial buildings in our cities. Atlanta will be a trailblazer with this tool and housing. In closing, TIFIA is a perfect example how successful public-private partnership works. In this case, the city needs the developer's experience and execution, but the developer could not make this project feasible without the city's support. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Clementich. Before I give my colleagues an opportunity to ask questions, I have a quick comment and a quick question. My comment is, even though I don't represent all of downtown Atlanta, I represent a plurality of it. I've been very bullish of downtown since I've been in office, and seeing projects like this has really gotten me really thrilled to see the city lean in terms of the future downtown waste that we haven't seen in decades. And part of me wonders if the announcement that we had with the building that Invest Atlanta is currently in at the Georgia Pacific building, if that happened because they saw the investment that the city was making in office to a residential conversion. And so just thank you to you and your team and the mayor's office and everyone who's been involved in this 2 Peachtree sort of I want to call it Hail Mary, but definitely it's a deep pass that is going to get us a first down, because we know we have a lot of different things happening across downtown, but to see this sort of public investment in this way, it's just an amazing thing to see. And I know the sentiment from my colleagues generally, and apologies if I speak out of turn, it's just to make sure we get it right. And so I just want to leave you with that comment. My question, just in that sort of theme of making sure we get it right, something I hear a lot from my downtown constituents, particularly with the Atlanta Downtown Neighborhood Association, is that they want to see not just more neighbors, but they want to see more families in the community. And I know oftentimes when we talk about any sort of real estate deal, 2 and 3 and 4 bedroom units are very difficult because of the financing, and is much more affordable for the developer to get more 1 or 2 bedroom units versus those larger numbers. And I get there's math that's involved and pro formas that are involved, and it's a challenge. I'm curious if this potential financing tool and the way this loan is structured allows for a greater flexibility for more 3 or potentially 4 bedroom units, because it wasn't something that was something we discussed when we approved this at Invest Atlanta a year ago. But I imagine this gives us some additional flexibility today. So can you talk about what this allows for this project to accomplish or to deliver with that in mind?
Of course. To your first point, I will tell you, I'd love to say that it's as a result of us, we're seeing all the other office to residential conversions, but I do think that it really set the tone, because we announced 2 Peachtree office conversion. Since then, we've seen 7 other within a 2-mile radius other announcements. So I do believe that there is this set of, yes, it's possible. If the city can do it, why can do it as well? So I think that we did play a role, or at least influence, on the possibility. The second to your question about families is this particular project, and mostly with all our projects, as when you sat on the board and some of you, Councilmember Westmoreland, sat on the board, we've really pushed and encouraged the developer to include 3-bedroom, because that is exactly the families that will be able to take those apartments and those units. And so in this project particular, there will be 31 3-bedrooms in this one, and of those 30% will be affordable. So we have prioritized putting the 3 bedrooms in this project.
Thank you. Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Well, first, first, thank you. And also wanting to piggyback off of what Councilmember Dozier said, because in homeless services right now, big thing that we're hearing about, and I'm happy to hear you say this thing about additional bedrooms, is that we've been focusing a lot of our homeless initiatives on individuals, and that is a strong part of it, but there's also a massive number of families that are living out of cars and in short-term stays right now. So happy to hear that we're talking about also meeting those needs next to transit. And I want to preface what I'm about to say with, I love this. I am very favorable to this. I want to be in support. I am going to be in support. I wanted to flag that for my colleagues, that with the substitute, I think y'all have took out affordable senior retail, commercial, and office space and moved it to mixed use, mixed income.
Just to give us broader use, but all of those components will be in there. We have a whole component that will be a senior housing complex. We have a retail, of a creative space. I mean, this building will have a lot of everything in it. It's 1 million square feet, so we have a lot of activities in there. So it just really was just to make it much more broader.
Understood. Thank you for that clarification. I do want to flag that our colleagues on finance have questions, because we are talking about leveraging our now perfect credit score rating for essentially a blank check, which sounds bad at first, but understanding what this is for, very valid. I want to preface that I love this idea. I would like to refer to finance to give our finance committee colleagues an opportunity with a bite at the apple. They are also supportive.
Okay.
We would prefer to do it in finance and on the open floor, so we can just move and, for approval at full council. But I think they have questions just about the project list. And as you've clarified to me,
Yes.
that list is coming. I think they just had some general questions. And if it's okay with you all, I'd like to make a motion to refer to FEC for tomorrow, just so they have an opportunity to ask questions.
No problem.
Thank you.
There's a motion to refer to Finance Committee. There's a second by Bakhtiari, a second by Westmoreland. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
The vote is closed.
And the motion to refer is favorable, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you so much, Dr.
Welcome,
Clemente.
thank you.
All right, next item, please sign the caption.
Item 11 is 24R4116, a resolution by Council Member Jason H. Winston authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an agreement on behalf of the Department of Parks and Recreation with Savvy Provisions, LLC, for a term of 10 years with one 5-year renewal option for the operation of a commercial business at the Grant Park Gateway Restaurant Retail Project as set forth pursuant to the requirements of the RFP number listed here, Grant Park Gateway Restaurant Retail Project, Commercial Enterprise, and for other purposes.
Commissioner Culler, are you speaking to this item?
Good afternoon, Chair Dozier, members of the CDHS committee. On behalf of the Department of Parks and Rec and the whole community, I believe we are finally excited to be at this point. This spot has sat vacant since 2019, so the team did a great job identifying a vendor on our second go-around. Again, 10-year term. The total return to the city will be $1.2 million over that 10-year period of time with an average monthly rent of just over $10,000. This will be designed to lead silver certification, as well as it'll take roughly 7 to 9 months after the lease is signed. Signed by all parties until the space will open. So there's still a substantial period of time to be able to have a sandwich or buy something at this restaurant, but this is a great step forward, and I'm sure we're all glad to be here today. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from colleagues? There's a motion to approve by Westmoreland, second by Norwood. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. And the vote is closed.
Item is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. Next item.
Item number 12, 24R4117, a resolution by Councilmember Jason H. Winston authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Department of Grants and Community Development to enter into a contract with MNS Engineers, Inc. for a term of 1 year in an amount not to exceed $440.0 to develop the city's next 5-year consolidated plan 2025 to 2029 and first year annual action plan 2025 to include the following programs: Community Development Block Grant Program, Emergency Solutions Grant Program, Home Investment Partnership Program, and Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS Program to be submitted to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development pursuant to 24 CFR Part 91. All contracted work shall be charged to and paid from account numbers determined by the Chief Financial Officer and for other purposes.
All right, we have Director Genevieve Jones for the Department of Grants and Community Development. Good to see you as always.
You. Good afternoon, Chairman Dozier and CDHS. I'm Genevieve Jones, the Director of Compliance for the Department of Grants and Community Development. The purpose of this resolution is to allow us to enter into a contract to have our 2025 to 2029 consolidated plan and our 2025 annual action plan, as well as the analysis of impediments to fair housing completed. We did a RFP process, competitive bid for M&S engineers. They were chosen because they were the most responsive and responsible offerer, and they are ensuring high quality expertise in developing these plans. Again, this plan is a requirement by HUD, covered by 24 CFR Part 91, that in order for us to get our allocations for 2025 through 2029, we will have to complete a consolidated plan. So this agency will be providing those services for us.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from colleagues? There's a motion to approve by Westmoreland. I will second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. All right, the vote is closed.
The item is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you so much. Next item.
Item 13 is 24R4179, a resolution by Community Development Human Services Committee on behalf of the Department of City Planning to amend Resolution 24R3750, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on July 1st, 2024, and approved per City Charter Section 2-403 on July 10th, 2024, by correcting the funding account strings listed therein. All other parts of the legislation to remain unchanged and for other purposes.
Thank you. This is just a funding account strings correction, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve. Second by Norwood. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed.
Item is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays, but I'll give you a...
Hi, Tiffany Cole, Business Manager with the Department of City Planning. The department would like to request this paper be held.
Oh, all right. Well, I would like to this is item 13, 24-R-4179.
Yes, the TSW Amendment 3 correction.
Which item on the agenda?
Item 13.
Okay.
Okay. There's a motion to reconsider by Norwood, second by Westmoreland. Please open the vote. The motion to reconsider is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. Oh, get ahead.
The motion to reconsider that vote is open now.
Thank you.
And the vote is closed.
All right. Motion to reconsider is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. There's a motion to hold by Westmoreland, second by Bakhtiari. Please open that vote.
One moment.
Sorry about the confusion.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
And the item is held, 4 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you for the assist. All right, next item.
Item number 14 is 24R4180, a resolution by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend Resolution 24R3680, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on June 17, 2024, and approved per City Charter Section 2-403 on June 26, 2024, by correcting the funding account strings listed therein. All other parts of the legislation to remain unchanged and for other purposes.
Colleagues, my understanding is the department would like us to hold this item as well. If not, then we will not make that motion. Ms. Lavinier.
Yes, thank you. Jessica Lavinier with the Department of City Planning. So this legislation was adopted to enter into to add the department into a contract with United that Watershed Department has, and we're just correcting the account stream.
There's a motion to approve by Westmoreland. I will second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote. The item is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. Colleagues, that concludes resolutions. However, we have 3 items coming off of held. Item number 25 and 31, if y'all are amenable to it, I would like to take those as a block. See no issues, please sign the caption.
Number 25 is 24O1127, an ordinance by council members Byron D. Amos and Dustin Hillis, as substituted and amended by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the City of Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to designate properties in the West Highlands community and Rockdale community from the open space land use classification and medium density residential classification to mixed use, medium density, and mixed use high density classifications and for other purposes. And number 31 is 24-014-34, CDP 2417, an ordinance by Community Development and Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2021 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 423 Sunset Avenue Northwest from the single-family residential land use designation to the medium-density residential land use designation and for other purposes. Both these items had a public hearing at the last quarterly CDP hearing.
All right, there's a motion to approve by Westmoreland. I'll second. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. And the vote is closed.
The item is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. And then our final legislative item, number 33, is coming off the Hill. Please sound that caption.
I think the substitute's going to change the caption.
Thank you so much. Please bring forward I'll motion to bring forward the substitute, second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. And the vote is closed.
Motion to substitute is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. Please sound the substituted caption.
This is 33, 24-014-57, a substitute ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari to amend the land use element of the 2021 City of Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to designate property having frontage at Flat Shoals Road Southeast to include the low-density residential, single-family residential, and low-density commercial land use designations and for other purposes.
All right, colleagues, we will actually need to hold this item. It still needs to go before ZRB and then eventually make its way back through the CDP. Have a CDP hearing specifically. So I will move to hold. Second by Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
And that item is substituted and held, 4 yeas, 0 nays. That concludes our legislative agenda. Any remarks from colleagues? Councilmember Bakhtiari.
To any folks that are watching, staff, constituents, everyone, we do have a massive storm coming in this weekend. Please make sure that you're paying attention to our emergency preparedness channels and all city channels to adequately prepare because we do have a tropical storm moving in. So just be aware. Please buy something else besides milk and bread because that will not get you through a crisis, but adequately prepare yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Well, the last just comment that I'll add is our office in partnership with the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District in partnership with the Atlanta Department of Transportation is hosting a virtual public hearing on potential two-way conversion of Ted Turner Drive, and that will be at 6 o'clock tomorrow. You can find information on all social media channels for those three organizations. Any other comments? We are adjourned.